And welcome everybody to a brand new series here on the channel where we are going to be doing another franchise building kind of series here, but this one is going to be a lot different. Now, I don't want to say I'm the only one who's done this on Madden. There's a lot of creative people on the platform, so it very well could have been done before, but I haven't seen it done. And this series is going to be a combination of kind of two inspirations from two different creators on YouTube. It's going to be from Mr. Hurricane and Param Crow, where we will be taking a team, a fantasy draft team, filling it with players primarily from Stanford University, and then we will fill out the rest of the roster with guys who played at a school in California. So taking inspiration here from Param Crow, where he does the state-only rebuilds in NCAA. And then we'll be bringing in Mr. Hurricane with the fact that this is going to be a sim primary series where we are not going to play most of the games. I'll probably play maybe 2 to 4 a season, and then the rest will be simmed. We might watch some, kind of depends on how the season goes, but yeah, that's kind of what we're doing. Really excited for this. I gave this a little try. I believe it was on Madden 20, and it worked fairly well. It was a difficult rebuild because you only have X amount of people. You can't fill out a whole roster from just one school, so that's why we are doing a state only, but we're making it harder on ourselves by basically saying it has to be Stanford first. So what that means is we have to draft every available Stanford player before we could draft anyone else from any other college from California. So first round, if Aaron Rodgers is available, we can't draft him. Even though he played at Cal, we can't draft him until we've drafted every available Stanford player. And then we could go elsewhere. So if you guys enjoyed this series, make sure you hit the thumbs up, give it a comment, subscribe as well. And then if this series does well, we'll continue this with other state rebuilds, other state college rebuilds, I guess you could say. But first off, we really have to create the team. Now, Stanford, they're the closest to, I believe it would be San Francisco, but we're going to go with the Chargers just because their uniforms I personally like a lot more, and they have a fantastic, beautiful new stadium. So we'll be using the Chargers primarily just for their uniforms, but we will be bringing in our own coach. And for our coach, who better to bring in than David Shaw, the head coach of the Stanford Cardinal for a long time. He was there when Harbaugh was the coach as well, so he's been part of Stanford for a long time. He's a fairly young guy. I believe he's 49. He's done a tremendous job there. Of course, the past couple years, Stanford hasn't been too great, but they've had a lot of young guys and a lot of older guys getting injured at the same time. So tough situation for him, but this is about as close as I could get to finding someone who looks similar-ish to Shaw. He typically wears like a sweater, a long sleeve sweater, so this is about as close as I could find. But yeah, he's going to be our new head coach. And of course, league settings, everyone is always curious. I always play on all Madden just because anything else is a bit too easy. Sometimes though, when you play on all Madden, the game breaks a little bit, but it's perfectly fine. But yeah, we're going to play on all Madden, simulation. Coach firing is going to be CPU only, just because we don't want this series to end because we don't do anything for a little bit, as we have to try to build this team up. Trade types all enabled, salary cap on, superstar abilities on. Just kind of run through these so you can see everything here. We'll do 46 will be fine. I don't think we'll go really below that. Gonna leave the dev trait management the same, the standard, so I'm not going to make any adjustments on those. We'll have regression on and breakout scenarios on as well. And quarter length, we will do 8. That's what we do the Vikings franchise on, and that's a good length of videos there, so we'll keep that. Play clock the same, and then full control. I don't like the CPU making any adjustments or anything, or bringing people on that I don't want on, especially with this series that it's only California, so need to make sure we're keeping that true. Tutorial pop-ups, play this game long enough, we don't need that on, and fill roster will be off as well. So those are all of the settings for this career mode, but now it's time to get into that draft. And here we are in the draft. Jonathan Taylor going to the Falcons, we see there. We're picking 22nd overall, so with us being so late, I doubt the star Stanford player is going to be available here. But let's see. I'm obviously the highest overall Stanford guy in the NFL currently would be running back Christian McCaffrey, and he is actually still here, so he will be our first overall pick just because he has the highest overall of any Stanford player. I think past him you're probably looking at either DeCastro or Reed, so those will be the next picks, but we're going to go Christian McCaffrey with our first. And obviously there are a lot of picks that will happen in this. They're going to be 55 picks. We'll show all of them, but try to keep it as quick as we can. In terms of Stanford-only players, there's about 30 of them in the NFL currently. And most likely we won't be drafting all of them, but we could definitely try to draft as many as possible. So I have a list pulled up here that I'll be kind of going back and forth through just to make sure we get as many as we can. There's going to be a lot of tight ends that we're most likely going to be drafting. Some might need to be played over at receiver. Kind of depends, and after kind of going through seeing where a lot of the higher end guys are for Stanford, we will go with our second pick being Justin Reed. And we're not going to have a whole lot of great options up on the offensive line. There's some younger guys who are kind of making way for Stanford, but I want to make sure we get our main piece here. So I'm going to go after DeCastro. Make sure we lock up a good guard. He's been a part of the Vikings franchise for a few years, has been a great player for us there, one of the strongest on our offensive line, so we'll bring him in here as well. In the fourth round, I'm thinking maybe tight end, Zach Ertz. So we'll probably go ahead and get Ertz, and he'll be one of our star guys, an older guy, and we'll definitely have a lot of other tight ends as well. In the fifth round here, I'm thinking we need to go ahead and make sure we lock up the linebacker spot here. We're going to go with Bobby Okereke. He's a good young guy for us. Could definitely help develop the defense a bit and be around for a bit as well. I say we jump over, probably go sign, or I guess in this case, draft Paulson Adebo. Make sure we have a corner on roster here. Really young corner, 22 years old. And we don't have anyone on the defensive line yet. So let's take a look here and see if we could find some of our guys. Obviously, there is Henry Anderson, who we will eventually draft if he's still available, but there's a couple other guys on the D-line that I want to find first, and I don't know exactly where they're going to be listed at. And here is one of them in Salomon Thomas, who they have listed at a DT. Now, depending on if we're playing a 3-4 or 4-3 will depend on where he plays. And then there's also Harrison Phillips, who is now a Minnesota Viking. And he is the higher overall and more of a DT for us. So we'll go ahead and draft him, make sure we get at least one guy up front on the D-line. We'll go back to the offensive line here. We are looking for a tackle in Andres Pete. And they have Pete listed at left guard. We're going to just draft all the linemen and then we'll sort them out after. So Andres Pete, the next one up. We need to make sure we have as strong of an offensive line as we can. And linebacker is getting a little thin here, so we'll go back to middle linebacker and pick up Blake Martinez. And I have a feeling that we'll be running a lot of heavy tight end formations here. So the kind of weird formations here. So I'm going to go with Dalton Schultz as our next pick. And as we only have one defensive lineman here, we're going to go back to DTs, make sure that Salomon Thomas is still there, and we'll pick him up. While we are at it, why don't we go ahead and lock up our quarterback, make sure that he's actually still available, and he is Davis Mills. We don't want to miss out on him because we don't want to have Kevin Hogan be our starter in this series. Well, next up here, let's get another guy for our defensive line in Henry Anderson. He's on the older side, so might be someone who hopefully will be available in a draft coming up, but we'll pick him up. And Michael Thomas here, a 71 overall, listed at strong safety with a speed of 85. That'll probably be where he plays. And he is 31, so another guy who will hopefully will have a California player in a draft soon. Now, I have a feeling we should probably try to shore up the rest of our offensive line here. And there's Drew Dahlman. He's a 62, so let's see if any of those other guys are still available. There was Cameron Fleming that we looked at earlier. He's a 68 overall, so we'll go ahead and pick him up. And technically, tight ends are a part of the offensive line, so let's try to find another one of these guys here. There's obviously quite a few that are on the rosters. And there is Colby Parkinson, so he'll be our third tight end. Make sure we have as many as possible. And a young guy as well, 22 years old. Another offensive lineman here for us is going to be Walker Little, 22 years old as well, so definitely going to have time to progress. In terms of outside backers here, there are a few we could take a look at. I won't go too far, go back to the last names here. There is Vaunters. James Vaunters, 68, about the same overall. The people we have been picking, we'll pick him up as well. And Brennan Scarlett is a 71 overall left outside linebacker, so we'll pick him up next. And the last remaining linebacker that they have listed is, where was I looking at? Casey Toohill is another one, and I believe they have him listed as an edge rush. Yes, they do. A 67 overall edge rusher. We'll probably end up moving back to linebacker here, especially if we're playing a 3-4. And I believe we have at least one other lineman that we need to try to pick up here, and that was Herbig. And he is over at right guard, a 64 overall, but a really big dude, 23 years old. He'll progress a bit. And I'm sure some of you might be thinking this is way too early, but he'll be one of our higher overall guys. We're going to draft Jake Bailey, our punter, Stanford boy. And I almost forgot one of our last remaining linemen, Drew Dahlman, 22 years old. We'll pick him up, only 62 overall, but the only true center that we have available. We do need a receiver. We haven't drafted a single one, and I just saw him for a split second. We will be drafting JJ Arcega-Whiteside. He was a fantastic receiver while at Stanford. Hasn't really transcribed over to the NFL, unfortunately. And there are a few guys left here on the list, so let's make sure we pick all of them up. We're looking for backup quarterback Kevin Hogan. And there he is, a 51 overall, so a fantastic, highly rated backup quarterback in Kevin Hogan. Now comes a time where we just have to fill out the roster, basically with leftover players from California. However, I do believe that Love is still in this game, even though he has not gotten a single snap in real life. Injuries really set him back in his career, so let's see. They do have Bryce Love, so we will pick him up. And those are all the guys I had on my list, plus I knew Love was in the game, so now we just need to go through, fill out this roster a bit. We have two quarterbacks, could definitely look for another running back. We need more receivers for sure. And we have 6 offensive linemen, so some backups there would be good. We have the starters at least enough starters for the defensive line. For most of the linebackers, still needed some linebackers, and we need some DBs and a kicker. So obviously corners are a big part of the NFL, so let's go through. Let's see if we could find some California boys here. And the highest overall corner that I've been able to find is Keevon Seymour. He's a 67 overall, 27-year-old corner. We just have to pick what's available. Another USC guy, Iman Lewis Marshall, will be our next corner that we'll pick up. He's 24 years old, so at least has some time to get better. So we're now at 3 corners. I want to make sure we have at least 5 here, so we'll jump back down here and continue looking. And we have a guy out of UCLA, Nate Metters. It's the 65 overall, 24, so again, has time to get better. We'll go ahead and pick him up. And we just need one more corner to fill out our group there. So hopefully we could find someone who's not in the 50s. And there we go. Our last one will be Darren Hall out of San Diego State. He's another 65 overall guy. However, he's 21, so we're able to find some young guys here who will help fill out some of the roster. Next group I really want to work on here is going to be the wide receivers. So looking for some California boys here at receiver. And the highest overall, there's Ty Montgomery. Well, you guys saw I looked for him before and he was not available. So we'll go ahead and pick up Ty Montgomery. Kind of makes me wonder if maybe some of the guys we were looking at earlier who weren't showing as available maybe now are, as there are a lot more guys who have popped up. So let's see if we could find some of the receivers I was looking for. Simi Hoko, and there he is, a 66 overall. We'll pick him up. So there are definitely some guys who maybe weren't available earlier who now are. So let's see if we could find Trenton Irwin as well. Probably start from the bottom and then go up. Might be a quicker way to find him. And no Irwin available yet. There was also that tight end Toilolo, who still doesn't show as being available either. So we'll go back to the receiver position and help start to fill that out a bit, as there are some high overall guys who are still available. Obviously, we need California only. So did I miss the other? There was a San Diego State guy who's not here any longer. So next up would be Sacramento State. Maybe that was who I was talking about before. Can't remember. It would be DeAndre Carter. There is a defensive tackle that's available here in Tyson Alualu, who is from California. He'd be a really high overall guy we could bring in. That's a solid option to take a look at. He is 34, so it'd be basically a 1-year kind of situation for him. Or it could even be a backup if we start one of the younger guys. But it could be at least solid depth, so we'll pick him up. Yeah, always good to just take a look at this first screen when you pop in, see if there's any California guys there, and then head back into the positions that we're looking to fill out. And our next one will be Chad Hansen, a 68 overall receiver out of California, 26 years old. And of course, now that we have 5 receivers, might need to look at some other positions. We have most of our offense kind of set up here, but we could use some more linebackers, some more guys on the defensive line, and some backup safeties. So before those positions start to get too low, let's take a look, see if we could find some other safeties. So for the strong safety position, the highest overall available from a California school is Charles Washington. He's a 64 overall, so before I draft him, I'm going to jump over to the free safeties and see if there's some higher overalls there. And there's Richard Sherman. Has him listed at free safety, so that's why we didn't see him earlier. We'll go ahead and pick him up. And not sure if we'll be playing him at safety or corner, kind of depends on what his ratings end up looking like. But another free safety here in Eric Harris, 74 overall out of California, PA. Does that mean that he played at California but in Pennsylvania? Let me just double check that. And I do believe that is Pennsylvania, so not an actual California school, so never mind there on Eric Harris. Here's a different guy that I definitely know is from a California school, Curtis Riley, a 69 overall free safety out of Fresno State. He is 29 years old. And then while we don't know what we're going to be doing with Richard Sherman, I forgot his name for a second, we'll stop there as we technically have 4 safeties, only 5 corners, so Sherman might kind of bounce back and forth. But we're going to take a look at outside linebackers here. There is Devin Canard, who is available out of USC. And he is an older guy, 75 overall, however, and is an edge rusher. So kind of looking like we're most likely going to be playing a 3-4 on defense. Looking for another linebacker here from California. And that would be Jordan It's going to take me a minute to try to figure out how to pronounce this. Kunazak, maybe? Jordan Kunazak? I probably butchered that. He is a run stopper, but he's an outside backer, has at least speed rushers is 61, so not that far back. We'll pick him up. And with that, we probably could use another running back, probably another receiver, maybe one more receiver. Could pick up a 4th tight end, maybe. We have some depth on the offensive line we need to work on. Up front on defense, I would like to find at least one right end, as we have some depth at the other position. So let's focus there at the right end position. And first up, out of USC, Everson Griffin. In real life, probably should go ahead and retire with his issues he had last year. Off the field issues, but I love Everson Griffin, so we'll bring him in here. And we will look to add one more of the right end spots here to see who's available. And there's one that was not on my list, but we will definitely be adding, is Josh Maru? Don't know exactly, but he is a 67 overall right end, so we'll bring him in. And I have no idea what kickers might be available for us to use, so let's just try to find the best kicker that we can. And out of UCLA, we will be bringing in big leg kicker Fairburn. Kayami Fairburn, I think is maybe how you pronounce it. He has a strong leg, pretty good accuracy, but his awareness is really bad, so in sim, he might not fare too well, but he's the best overall available. So now we're just kind of going through and making sure we have at least one player per position. So we need a fullback and a tackle, a right tackle to be specific. And the highest overall available is going to be David Questonberry out of San Jose State. I feel like he might be the only San Jose player that we've drafted. I know we've gotten San Diego. I'm not sure about San Jose. And as for fullback, let's see if we could find anyone from California. And there is Nick Bodden from San Diego State. You will be joining the team, 25 years old, 65 overall. And now that is a player per position. So now we just get to build some depth here. So on the offense, we do need another running back. So let's see if we can find a good running back here out of California. And that would be Patrick Laird is the highest overall available. We will bring him in. He is a 26-year-old, 68 overall running back. And perhaps with the level of play, if Mills were to happen to get injured, we should take a look to see if maybe we have another quarterback that's available. Out of San Diego, Josh Johnson. So I think he might be a little bit higher overall. He's definitely an older guy. Doesn't have a whole lot of accuracy, but he has a little bit of throw power and some speed. So pretty sure he's played on a lot of different teams in the NFL. Bring him to the Chargers. And I believe we have maybe 6 picks left. I believe we go to 53. Just want to see here if maybe Irwin would be available yet. I know he's in the game. Dylan Stoner is available, but not from California. If we do a Oklahoma one, he will definitely be a part of the team, as I actually played with him in college. Or not in college, in high school. My bad. Let's see, go with the last names. Let's see, Irwin. And there is no Irwin available, so let's see. Do we want another receiver? Could use another receiver. Are there any tight ends from Stanford that I haven't picked up yet? And there he is. He finally popped up. Levine? Yeah, Levine Toilolo. We'll pick him up in that Madden 20 version I tried of this. I did use them as a fullback, so we'll see. And with our next pick, I would like to see if we could find a center. We'll bring in Ryan Khalil here. He's an older guy, but bring a veteran presence to our offensive line, or another veteran presence to our offensive line. And if we're running a 3-4, we only have 2 middle linebackers. I know some of the edge guys can be moved into middle linebacker, but just in case, I'd like to bring in another one. And there is a Malcolm Smith who is available out of USC. He's 32 years old. Again, an old veteran, bring in. And what to do as we start to get down to the end here, we have 8 offensive linemen, so that is plenty. Maybe use a receiver, maybe another running back. We have quite a few guys up on the the defensive line. I think one of them will probably move to linebacker, so maybe could use a defensive lineman, maybe another safety. So let's see what's available at safety. And there was another one who wasn't on my list but is in the game, so we'll bring in Jordan Richards, a free safety from Stanford. He's 28 years old. And with this pick, I would like to find another pure lineman here. And there was not anyone else with a higher overall than Alex Barrett, so we will bring him in. He's a 63 overall, 27 years old. And out of San Jose State, we're going to have Tyler Irvin. He is 27 years old. Bring him onto the squad. And now I think we're getting towards our last pick. However, it does say that there is a 54th pick, but you only have a 53-man roster, so I would think this would be the last pick, but apparently we could go past it. And here's one that I didn't see earlier that is available, Desean Jackson, 34 years old now. However, still has some good speed and acceleration, would probably retire after the first year. We'll pick him up. And out of San Diego State, there is Luke Barku. I probably am butchering the pronunciation of that, but we'll pick him up. And I guess that's it. There were 54 picks, even though it said 58, but then there's 53 for a starting roster. Very confusing, but the roster is built. Now we just have to make some adjustments. All right, 2 of 3 of the adjustments have been made. One of those being to change our scheme. So obviously I'm going to go with what best is, what the best kind of style is for the players that we were able to draft. So for offense, we're going to be running a multiple zone run. We'll be using Cincinnati's playbook. Has a bit of a balance between zone runs while also having some consistent passing as well. For defense, we're running a base 3-4, 95% scheme fit. Perfect for us. The only thing that doesn't quite fit is a speed rusher at right outside linebacker. That could easily change in the future. And then for our defensive playbook, we'll be using the Pittsburgh McTomlin playbook there. So honestly, I'm pretty familiar with the Pitt playbook. I have not used Cincinnati's before, so that'll be something new. Plus, it's different than what we've been using in the Minnesota Vikings franchise, so it'll be fun to do something new there. Now all that we have to do is set our depth chart. And now our depth is set, so we are ready to really get this series started. Our starting lineup, obviously quarterback is going to be Davis Mills, followed by Johnson and then Hogan. The only dev trait guy we have on offense, Christian McCaffrey, will be the star running back for us. Behind him we have power back and Laird, and then the backup third down will be Bryce Love. He'll also be handling the return duties. For the receiving, on the outside, we're going to have D-Jax and Ty Montgomery, and then J.J. Arcega-Whiteside will be the next man up, followed by Carter. And up front, tight ends, a good position for us. So we'll have Zach Ertz and Dalton Schultz as the 2 main guys. Parkinson will be the backup there. Bodden is getting the start at fullback because he's a much better blocker. Toilolo is a much better receiving fullback, but he'll just kind of be a utility guy for us. On the offensive line, not great, but not awful. So obviously the main guy here in DeCastro at right guard. On the right-hand side at right tackle will be Questonberry. Khalil will get the start at center. We could look at maybe starting Dahlman as he is a rookie, but that's 7 overall points in difference there. So Khalil will get the start. Andres Pete will start at left guard, and then Walker Little will get the start over Fleming. That's just 1 overall of a difference, and Walker Little is a rookie, so he'll get the start there. On defense, a little bit better looking here. We at least have 2 dev guys, but Salomon Thomas and then Harrison Phillips. It didn't look like that saved there. Harrison Phillips will get the start over Alualu as he's in his upper age range of playing. So Phillips will get the start just so he can progress a little bit more. It is 4 points of overall, but he's much younger. Everson Griffin will get the start at right end. And like I said, we are playing a 3-4. So the edge rushers are going to be Canard and Brennan Scarlett. In the middle will be Blake Martinez and Bobby Okereke. And then safeties will be Justin Reed and Michael Thomas. And then as for the corners, Sherman, we did move back to corner as he has a good press rating. I think it was 81. So he'll be back at corner, and on the other side will be Adebo. For special teams, like I said, Love will be handling the kick return duties. Fairburn is the kicker, Jake Bailey is the punter, and DeCastro, I guess, will be doing the long snapping for us. As for our specialists, the slot corners, it's just 3rd, 4th, and 5th corners for us. So it'll be Lewis Marshall, we'll get that, and then Metters, and then Hall. For the rush up front, we will have Salomon Thomas be our actual DNs will be our nickel rushers for us. So Salomon Thomas and Everson Griffin will get the edge, and then Alualu and Phillips will be the DTs. I have Alualu in just to provide some run-stopping ability when we go into that nickel form. Sub-linebackers, Okereke and Martinez. And then as for the running backs, McCaffrey will get the start, followed by Laird and Powerback, and then McCaffrey and then Love for the 3rd down backs. Now, Simi Fehoko, he's a rookie here, so I want to give him some development. He's only 64 overall at slot. We could use Carter, but just the fact that he's so much younger. And if you watch the Vikings franchise, we just played against him in the Dallas game that came. Actually, by the time this goes up, it wouldn't be just. But in this last season, we did play against Dallas, who has Simi Fehoko in real life, and he played very well for him. So we're going to hope that he can progress well for us. He was fantastic in at Stanford. He played a lot of different roles in the receiving corps, so he's going to get the start there. If it doesn't work out, we could change it as this season goes on. And before we get into week 1, as we sim through the preseason here, we see we won one game by a touchdown. The next game we lost by 14, and then we got blown out by this version of the Seattle Seahawks. And we do have to cut one player. So when I'm taking a look here at the roster, where do I think we have too many? So we only have 4 linebackers. 2 of them will be out there at all times. So I think we need to stick with 4. At corner, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So we could definitely get rid of a corner here. Which one do we want to get rid of? They're all pretty young. With Metters being 24, the other guys being younger, I think we'll move him to the practice squad and clear up that one spot. And now we are in week 1, so we can find out a little bit more. We have a lot of things to take care of here. We will save all of these for the week 1 episode. The last thing that we will do, however, we're going to upgrade some players. All the upgrades that we had from the preseason, and see exactly where we're starting off at, what our overall is going to be. Not a whole lot of upgrades to do here, only 3 of them. Chad Hansen will get one. We'll give him physical, as that is an archetype for our receivers in this playbook. He gets a pretty good one too. +2 release and +2 short route running, +1 to those other ratings. Pretty solid from him. And honestly, I don't know a whole lot of the ratings from all these players, as we more or less drafted from overall standpoints, just to make it a little bit easier. But good to have those upgrades. You could definitely use them. Then we have Lewis Marshall here, who is our slot corner. I'm going to upgrade the slot. He's going to lose the archetype there, so probably got a zone coverage. No? He probably just went up to having the slot be the, yeah. And with his ratings, we see pretty decent press. Speed could be a little bit better. Tackling isn't bad for a corner, but yeah, definitely improve for sure. Luckily, some of these backup corners are pretty young, so they could all get better. J.J. Arcega-Whiteside is up to a 70 overall with that upgrade here. +1 across the board. Catching traffic, catching, medium route running, release, and spec catch. Now, I'm pretty sure that is lower than where he originally started in Madden in terms of overall. And we could see here, he doesn't create separation, which we've seen in real life over and over again. Just doesn't get that separation. But he has ability to catch it. Is he always going to? Not too sure, but yeah, he'll be our second guy up for the outside. Hopefully we could see some good play from him. And with everything set, we are ready to take on week 1 with our California Stanford Sim series. And the way that I want to play some games with the team just because there's some of my players that I've just grew up watching for so many years. So we'll play some of those games, and the way we're going to play them is it's going to be play the moments. So it'll still be mostly sim, but we will have our hand in some of those games. Like I said, we'll probably only play the moments for 2 to 4 games a season. And then if we get to the playoffs, hopefully when we get to the playoffs, we will watch those games, and those will probably be about an episode per playoff game. And the way that this series is going to basically wrap up is if we could get a Super Bowl win with simming. So it might take a little bit, but we'll run through these pretty quickly. I'm thinking about 4-ish episodes a season for the non-playoff game or non-playoff seasons. So we'll try to get through these pretty quickly. But if you guys would like to have the week 1 game up the next go around here, so I'm not exactly sure as I'm recording this pre-time what day this is going up on, but we post Monday, Thursday, and Saturday. If you would like the next episode, the week 1 episode, to come up tomorrow, you're going to need to make sure that you guys are blasting this video with a like button, hitting the subscription button, sending it to some friends if you think they'll enjoy it as well. and I'll get this out to you as soon as tomorrow. If you don't blast it, then, well, we're going to have to wait till that next upload day. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope you're excited for this series. I'm really excited for it. And until next time, we'll see you later. Bye.